there, and a very happy Monday to you. Thank you for joining us for Weather Out West on this Monday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Weather Out West is where we tell you what's happening weather-wise across 8 of our western regions. You're going to find coverage from the PNW to the Mountain West, California, and in Arizona and the desert Southwest. Today, we're going to kick things off in the Northwest, where the autumn weather has officially arrived. There's a front moving in, and it's going to move into Boise, bringing rain, thunderstorms, and gusty winds a little later today through early Tuesday. Rachel Garceau has everything you need to know in today's forecast.
Happy Monday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Rachel Garceau with KTVB in Boise. Let's talk about some first alert weather conditions that are coming in today. You wouldn't know it by the way we're starting our Monday. We've had a lot of sunshine and really mild temperatures early on, but as our Monday progresses, we'll continue to see that cloud cover increase and eventually rain and storm chances increasing as well. It's a cold front that is on the move from the west. It will kick off a generally cooler, unsettled pattern that will take us into the first few days of October. If you've been itching for some sweater weather, I think by the end of the week and into the weekend, definitely time to unearth the boots and the sweaters. You may want them tonight, especially the rain boots, as we are talking about some moderate to potentially heavy rainfall, most likely starting up late this evening after sunset around 8 o'clock. But as early as noon today, we do have the possibility of some isolated showers, splash and dash type showers popping into the picture. So we are kicking off our first alert conditions midday today. But again, most impactful conditions will develop later tonight. We could have some thunderstorms coming in. We have a nice dynamic atmosphere in play, and the cold front will help trigger those storms. Gusty winds up to 30 miles per hour are possible. So I know it's Halloween decorations time. If you have some inflatables or something out in front of your house that you don't want to be blown away by the wind, or that you don't want getting soggy, maybe you might want to pull them up closer to the house or just tuck them away for the next 24 hours or so as this system comes in. So we have that cold front that will come in closer to midnight tonight. Activity ramps up a couple hours before that, but the core of it really takes hold while we're all sleeping tonight. And then the main piece of this system will just kind of hover off to the west for a couple of days, spinning its wheels, and then slowly make its way in. And that's what will bring us a cooler conditions for the first few days of October. We actually stay pretty mild today and tomorrow. Let's talk about our futurecast. So here's a front this morning. Again, it will slide to the east during the day today. So by 11 o'clock tonight into midnight, you can see the widespread storm activity from the southwest Idaho valleys up into the mountains. We could see some significant rainfall where the thunderstorms develop, as steady rain likely developing with that front. By Tuesday morning, most of the activity is over and done with, just some hit or miss showers and storms across the region tomorrow. You can see that low pressure center is still pretty far off to the west. It will spin moisture our direction during the day tomorrow. So by, again, late Tuesday evening in the mountains, we could have some rumbles of thunder and more accumulating rainfall. Mostly cloudy on Wednesday with a few breaks here and there in the evening hours on Wednesday. Still that low pressure center off to the west. It will finally slide in later in the week and drop temperatures into the 60s by Thursday and Friday, cooler than normal for early October. Still by Wednesday night, there's the potential we could see over half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain in some of our mountain locations, 1/3 to a half an inch possible as well across the Treasure Valley. We haven't seen a whole lot of rain in September, so that would take us into nice wet territory. But after that, we start seeing those rain and storm chances really diminish for Thursday, or Tuesday, I should say, especially. A little uptick here on Thursday. All in all, though, the valleys will stay mostly dry through the weekend. In the mountains, will likely carry some higher rain and storm chances from now all the way through Thursday. You can see here that's reflected in our 3-day outlook for McCall. High temperatures hovering in those upper 50s starting on Tuesday, morning lows by Thursday into the 30s. And again, some hit or miss showers possible each and every day from now through Thursday. Magic Valley outlook for today, Twin Falls up near 80 with sunshine to kick things off, clouds increasing throughout the day and rain and storms firing off by dinner time. Upper 60s to low 70s for the Wood River Valley today as we head towards McCall, Donnelly and Cascade. Clouds increasing, some showers possible by midday there. We'll see highs around 80 for most of the lower Treasure Valley, with those showers coming in by lunchtime, really ramping up in coverage and intensity around 8 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow we hit the low 70s, then we continue to cool for the rest of the week.
Rain continues to spread over western Washington, so we are headed back west to Seattle. And you can see how rainy and gloomy it is. Looking toward downtown, you see the Space Needle there. Visibility is okay as of this morning. And then at the Seattle Tacoma Airport, SEA Airport, you see lots of people trying to hit the skies to head out of Seattle to come into Seattle. But it is going to be a wet and rainy week. It's also going to be quite breezy and much cooler. Rich Marriott has the details from Seattle.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and a definite change in our weather pattern after a very summery weekend around western Washington. We had temperatures in the upper 60s and low to mid 70s of both days. We definitely changed today. It's going to be cooler and definitely much wetter. We had nothing but sunshine for the weekend, but late last night we did see those clouds really start to move in, and the rain is moving in. We can see on the Doppler radar back edge of the front just kind of moving through the coast right now and headed into Puget Sound, and we're going to be seeing fairly wet morning commute. At least the latter part of it is going to be wet, and then as we head into the afternoon, that's going to be switching over to off and on showers with some sun breaks, it looks like, and we will continue to see maybe a little bit of rain shadowing north and east of the Olympics, as we usually do when fronts move through here, because blocking that rainfall up there towards Whidbey Island in that area. You can see up in Bellingham this morning, got the clouds in there. It's been raining, also a little breezy, especially Everett northward. We've seen some wind gusts into the 30+ mile/hour range, and actually at Naval Air Station would be a 40 mile/hour gust, but it tends to be a very windy spot, being right there at the eastern entrance to the strait. Checking the view there, Queen Anne Tower cam, looking down towards downtown Seattle, looking kind of threatening right now as that front is pushing into Puget Sound. And out of the airport at SCA, seeing the rain coming down, and it's a new phenomenon of having to fly in bad weather, so always good to check out at the airport and be sure if everything is on schedule for you as you head that direction. Checking the view there in the South Sound, though, not much in the way of wind going on there once you get down south of Seattle today. The flag on the Tacoma Dome staying pretty quiet at this point. Our first alert 7-day forecast, well, it looks like a wet week ahead. We've got a series of systems moving through here, keeping us wet really pretty much today all the way to the end of the week. But right now, it looks like there's a good chance we might dry out in time for those divisional playoffs here for the Mariners as we head towards Saturday and Sunday. That would be convenient. Checking the satellite image, we do have a big area of low pressure off the coast. This is the first of a series of systems that's going to rotate in and out of it. See that front pushing its way in. Quite a few showers behind it. But you will see a break later tonight into early tomorrow, and then tomorrow morning in the afternoon we'll see this next system way out here rotate in, and that is going to be giving us increasing rain and a lot of showers and mixed with sun breaks as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday after we get that rain on Tuesday night, and we'll see those temperatures stay pretty constantly in the low to mid 60s all the way through the week. Checking the computer model, you can see this first system pushing its way in as we head towards midday. It's sliding on through Puget Sound, and we should see it turn to the off and on showers during the afternoon, but could be quite a few showers mixed in there along with the sun breaks. And then as we head into overnight tonight, we should see those showers pretty much wrap up. Should be dry for the morning commute tomorrow, but this next system pushes in as we head towards later in the morning, and then followed by showers pretty much off and on all the way into Wednesday and on into Thursday for that matter. Checking the winds, you can see we do get pretty gusty as we head towards later this morning and midday, especially up there really from about Everett northward. Those wind gusts generally in the 20 to 30 mile/hour range, but locally greater gusts are possible. And then as we head towards later today and overnight tonight, those winds fall back, which is let things kind of soak in a little bit. We continue to have air quality issues over there east of the Cascades because of the active wildfires over there, and they have that in place until further notice. Basically, it's in Chelan, Douglas, and the southern portion of Okanagan County where we're seeing those that air quality alert. Checking the smoke model, you can see the smoke basically staying east of the Cascades, and even they're kind of clearing out most spots, except if you end up in the lee of the fires, you're going to be in that unhealthy for anybody to be out and about in that amount of smoke. So for today, we're going to be looking for that rain turning to off and on showers as we head towards later this morning and this afternoon. Temperatures dropping back mid-60s, and we are going to see some gusty winds later this morning, this afternoon, primarily Everett northward it looks like. For tomorrow, we'll start off dry, should be a dry commute in the morning, and then in the afternoon we'll see that rain move in. This second system is much wetter than the first one that's moving through today. High temperatures tomorrow in the mid to upper 60s. We'll see off and on showers and breezy with some sun breaks for both Wednesday and Thursday. As we head into Friday, only a couple showers left over and turning partly sunny. There might be a couple that linger into Saturday. It looks kind of iffy. Overall, it looks like it should be a partly sunny weekend for those playoff games, and high temperatures for Saturday and Sunday, mostly in the low to mid 60s.
Ahead on Weather Out West, we'll take you back up to the Pacific Northwest to tell you how that incoming storm system will impact Portland and Spokane. But after the break, we're headed to Sacramento to tell you everything you need to know about their first rain event of the fall season. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Our weather team in Sacramento issued a weather impact alert to get you ready for several waves of rain this week. Rob Carlmark is tracking it all for you in today's forecast.
Hello, I'm ABC 10 meteorologist Rob Carlmark here in Northern California, and we've had a lot of weather changes. Now, this time of year, we go back and forth between leftover summer weather with hot conditions and dry, and then also some early storms that are usually lacking something. And that's exactly what we have. So moving forward here, we've got some rain chances along the coast that look pretty good. Then it starts to fall apart in the valley. We're going to get a lot of clouds and cooler temperatures in the low 70s, which is well below average. And then for the foothills, we are feeling very fall because we've got a lot of cool conditions with clouds, a little bit of rain, and just starting to ease into that season. The colors have not changed yet here locally, but that's all on the way. And then for the Sierra, since this is an early season warmer storm, we're looking at some rain chances, but not necessarily snow. For the Sierra, we go all the way up to 10, 11,000 feet here locally. We're looking at snow chances down to right around 10,000 feet and at times around 9,000 feet. So yeah, maybe some flurries up high, but that's really about it, not really affecting most of us. One of the big stories here is that we've been going back and forth between hot weather, cooler weather, normal weather. And so we ended last week with some 80s. It got hot for a day on Friday with highs in the 90s, and then we really eased down into the 80s and then 70s. By the way, the 70s that we saw on Sunday are about 10 to 15 degrees below normal. So quite a cool day. Lots of cloud cover, but no complaints, because what we really want here is we want to just ease into the fall weather and early winter weather, which is when we get big storms, and we can start to put a cap on this. This is the fire seasons over this year compared to last year and over the last 5 years. And as you can see, we're about half the acres burned over the last 5-year average. So it's been good. It's a little bit above where we were last year, but all in all, it's been a good fire season. Even though we've had 7,000 fires, CAL FIRE, among other firefighting agencies, have been able to get after most of these fires, get control, and not let them get too out of hand. And one of the main components is that in the background, we've had a lot of days without extreme fire conditions. We've had hot days, we've had a lot of cool days, but we haven't had hot, windy, and dry days. Not a lot of them, a handful here and there. And so overall, not only has the fire season been not that bad, we have not seen a lot of smoke, which typically can, if you get a lot of fires in the middle of summer, can linger well into early fall and just kind of be in the background unless you get that first big rain, which washes everything out, and then you get good air quality. Right now, we just have air quality that's in absolutely great shape just because of the sheer lack of fires. It's been really good over the last 2 years. Like I mentioned, we're about half of where we normally are over the 5-year average. So taking an early look over what we've seen across the area, just some cloud cover is really what we're looking at, because this is our next weather story locally. Just very quickly, since this is a big check on the entire West Coast and Northern California, even though the numbers look like we're not in good shape for as far as reservoirs being full, this always happens. They get as full as they can in about June, and then they lose water for evaporation and water usage. And all of these lakes, these big lakes and reservoirs, are actually all above average compared to where they typically are. So we're in good shape. So here's the situation. A lot of cloud cover. I like how it's looking. However, when you look off the coast, when you start to get some of these early looks at radar, there's not a lot of moisture. So we're getting a lot of things linking together. We're getting low pressure, we're getting moisture, but it's just not very strong. So it's not a big area of low pressure that's wound up and that's just going to drive everything through our area. So what you end up with is this. We're getting clouds, we're getting rain chances, and even some heavier rain off the coast. And then once it hits the valley spots, it kind of just falls apart. So we're still hanging in there with some rain chances over the next several days. It's going to be Monday night to Tuesday, which is our best chance to get some overnight rain. And then again, they're early on Wednesday.
While Northern California will dodge some raindrops, Southern California is going to wrap up September on a pretty pleasant note. Vanessa Paz explains from San Diego.
Happy Monday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. As we take a look at our camera earlier along the coastal spots, we were clear early in the morning, around 5, 6 o'clock, and then all of a sudden those low-level clouds became pretty abundant, spanning from the coast all the way towards interior parts of the county. The sun rose at about 6:42, and it will set later on this evening at 6:35 for us. As we take a look at current temperatures will be pretty comparable to what we experienced on Sunday afternoon. A lot of these numbers are actually cooler than where we should be for this time of year by a few degrees or so. This afternoon, the warmer spots along the coastal areas will be in Oceanside, Carlsbad, as well as downtown San Diego. Later on this afternoon, Del Mar will reach a high of 73 degrees. For the Inland Valley, specifically those neighborhoods that hug the 15 corridor, will top out in the low 80s for Escondido as well as Ramona. High 70s expected for Fallbrook as well as Vista. 79 degrees later on today in Poway, and 78, quite a popular number. That's where we'll be at for Miramar as well as La Mesa. Low 80s meanwhile for El Cajon. Here's what's happening aloft. We have this area of low pressure saturating, bringing beneficial rain to the Pacific Northwest as well as Northern California. It's not really going to do much for us here in Southern California. It will continue to enhance our onshore flow, which will keep things fairly cool for the next couple of days. But in terms of rain, not really going to provide us really anything in terms of precipitation. All right, to the right of the screen, we have this ridge of high pressure, also known as a dome of warm air, that will be centering itself over the south parts of Texas. That will keep things mild for us, slightly warmer Wednesday and Thursday, and then this cutoff low will kind of be our saving grace, pushing in some cooler air and keeping things more fall-like looking ahead to the end of the week into the weekend. All right, so here's what you can expect as we kick off a new work week. Monday will continue to run cooler than average. By the time we get to Tuesday, we're looking at much cloudier conditions from start all the way through the afternoon. We're looking at the coolest afternoon of the work week on Tuesday, and then by Wednesday, much clearer skies. Offshore flow will sort of prevail, and overall, we're looking at a pleasant start to the new month. All right, just a heads up, we do have a beach hazard statement impacting our entire coastline, stretching from Oceanside all the way to the South Bay. What that means is we're expecting some really big sets as well as a high rip current risk. This is all due to the remnants of a tropical storm. So those areas that face south and southwest specifically are going to see some of the biggest waves. We could get isolated sets anywhere between 7 to 8 feet. And that beach hazard statement will be impacting the coastline all the way through late Tuesday. Water temperatures will stay in the mid to high 70s. High tide will be aimed at about 4.5 feet around 3 o'clock. Low tide not happening until 11:30 later on this evening. And as I mentioned, the UV index will be quite high as well at about 8, level 8, which means that anyone who hangs out along the beaches, not only should you be experienced if you're entering the water, but if you're checking out the waves from afar, just make sure that you're applying and reapplying that sunscreen. Despite overcast conditions, again, UV index still at a high level. Low 70s for the coastal areas later on this afternoon. Will produce highs in the mid to upper 70s for the inland and mountain areas, and we'll touch in the mid to low 90s for our desert communities. Over the next 7 days, subtle daily changes. As I mentioned, we have a little bit of a warm up Wednesday and Thursday. That's when that ridging kind of becomes a little more pronounced. And then we'll have a trough of low pressure kind of save the day for us this weekend, cooling things back down. The inland valleys will be in the high 70s all the way through the middle of the week. Thursday will pretty much be the warmest day for the entire region. And then things simmer down once we get into the weekend. So just as we kick off your first full weekend of October, it will be feeling very fall-like. The mountain and desert areas, we're talking 70s all the way through the middle of the week for spots like Julian, and then we're rising to the 80s back into the 70s on Friday. Low 90s on tap all the way through Wednesday for the desert areas, closer to 100 by Thursday, and then we're back into the 80s rebounding by the time we get to Saturday.
Coming up after the break, we're taking you back to the Northwest with forecasts from Portland and Spokane. It was a pleasant first weekend of autumn in Portland, but as September wraps up, it's going to be rainy and cool. You see the satellite and radar there for Monday morning. The rainy weather will set the mood for October, though. Can't believe it's only a few days away. Rod Hill is timing out the rain for you in today's forecast.
We have a rainy day in Portland. I'm Rod Hill on a Monday. Hi, everybody. Nothing stormy down here today. No advisories, no watches, no warnings, none of that. And for the most part, not much wind either, just rain. And at least for Portland and Salem and Vancouver in the inland area of I-5, We're looking at most of the rain being of the gentle nature, but it's going to be ongoing throughout much of the day. So this is a weakening front driving the rain we have this morning. Another system gathering offshore will come in and give us a second punch of rain, if you will, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night into Wednesday. So the march of the rain is from west to east. So the coast where it's been raining for hours and hours and hours will actually get into mainly dry conditions as early as noon today and have a decent afternoon. Astoria has been our local wet spot, 62/100ths of an inch, and that's through the 8 o'clock hour this morning. So that number is going to get higher, obviously. So for Portland, again, our big headline is steady, mainly light rain, all the way through 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. Not much wind, as I mentioned, southwest 5 to 15. And with the clouds and the raindrops, the temperature is just not going to do much. We've started off around 60, and we're probably looking at mid-60s at most this afternoon. Here is the way Futurecast shows our Monday. This is 9 o'clock this morning. This is noon. So notice at noon, the coast is drying out. So if this were a strong front that's holding together, it would just shove the rain out of here, and we would get some dry time this afternoon. But it's a weakening front that's going to kind of wash itself out. So because of that, it makes sense that the rain just kind of hangs up, and we have those extra hours of steady light rain, mainly this afternoon. So it could be drippy more than not, as I mentioned, all the way through 3 or even 4 o'clock this afternoon. Here's Futurecast at 4 o'clock. I do want to point out the modeling does produce a heavier rain bound out ahead of all of this. We see the bright colors. That's heavy rain and burns at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and then that moves out. It looks like here on the west side that we'll get into a mainly dry break overnight tonight and a mainly dry break tomorrow morning, including the noon hour. And then tomorrow afternoon, we get that second wave of rain coming in. And from that point, it's raining, I think, really maybe not all of the time, but more than not, all the way into Wednesday afternoon. So here's what the rain potential map is. This is on track to be what we talked about last week. 4 days of consecutive measurable rainfall, something we have not seen since mid-May. So this shows just today, Astoria's on track to get up to about 84/100ths of an inch. So that looks good. Not nearly as much the rest of the coast, and anywhere from 1/10 to about 1/4 of an inch of rain in the Willamette Valley. Now I mentioned we get a dry break overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. Then the next batch comes in Tuesday afternoon, and then more rain Wednesday and scattered showers on Thursday. So all total, today through Thursday, models love well over 1 inch of rain at the coast, maybe approaching 2 up in Astoria. They love 1/2 of an inch to about 3/4 of an inch on average up and down I-5, and some decent rain amounts out across the far eastern portion of our state as well. Our cameras this morning are socked in, but improved visibility this afternoon, including expected in Lincoln City. Here's our Timberline camera with the summit covered in clouds. Better visibility in the valley, but certainly cloudy with raindrops falling over Salem. You can tell that's wet over Portland, looking at the Moda Center where the Blazers play. All right, so at the coast, afternoon shower threat, but really mainly dry weather this afternoon. The periods of steady, mainly light rain for the valley going well into 3 or maybe even 4 o'clock this afternoon. Here are the temps in the 60s with the rain at times through Thursday. Again, we get a dry break tonight. We get a dry break tomorrow morning. Right now, our weekend looks to be dry.
Now from Portland to Spokane, the fall weather finally arriving. Spokane actually hit a high of 84 degrees on Sunday, but all of that is a thing of the past. Thomas Patrick has the details on the cooler weather and those rain chances.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. It was yet another warm and summer weekend. But as we enter this week and switch the calendars over to October, we are finally going to get some fall weather in the region because it's going to be cooler for not just one day, but likely all week long. I want to show you the weather map across the Pacific Northwest, and it's this guy right here. This is the cold front that's over Western Washington right now. If you're out in Seattle or Portland, you've already gotten rain as of Monday morning. Still waiting on that here in Spokane, and it will take almost all day for it to arrive. But when it does, it will drop our temperatures and keep them that way. This is the fall cold front we've been waiting for, and it is going to come with a fair share of some rainfall more on the west side than for eastern Washington for sure, but we'll at least pick up at least a few scattered showers. Now for Monday afternoon, we're mostly dry though cloudy, maybe a sprinkler or two from that cloud cover. Nothing more than that until we get to this evening. This is when that cold front will be right on top of eastern Washington. That's when we get most of our rainfall here. So expecting at least scattered showers, if not at least a bout of rainfall at night, though. That was 11 o'clock at night. We head you into Tuesday midday. A few spotty scattered showers still possible then. I will say generally speaking, could be dry during the afternoons and then wet in the evening for the next 3 days in a row. Just happens to be how that pattern works out here. But to just kind of broad brush it, it is 40 to 50% chance of rain per day for the next 3 days here. Again, looks a bit drier during the day and a little wetter at night, so those percentages do balance out. But we should be able to pick up rain probably 2 out of the next 3 days combined here. So we'll be watching those rainfall chances, but overall realize that those on the west side, they're getting rain for the next 3 days. For sure, more than an inch of it. Here for eastern Washington, it's only about 1 to 2/10 of an inch of rain total. That very much is common across the Pacific Northwest, as the west side, which has that clear view of the Pacific Ocean, often gets most of the steady and widespread rain. And the mountains will wring it out a little bit before it arrives more inland for Spokane and especially areas in North Idaho as well. The storm system responsible for this, very large low pressure area and that jet stream trough. Watch as it swings in, kind of that bottom edge of the jet stream, literally just swings and rotates into the Pacific Northwest. Gives us that air mass that's going to be cooler and has more moisture attached to it, hence the rainfall across the region. But again, more on the west side where the direct onshore flow gives you more rain versus after it's been squeezed out a bit in the inland Northwest. So our temperatures will finally start to drop. It's actually about 10 degrees cooler today compared to yesterday. Still above average, though. It has been an insanely warm September, to put it lightly. And as I've been calculating the data, I mean, some of these days were as much as 19 degrees above normal to start the month. Easily our hottest September on record. The average high temperature this whole month has been over 80 degrees. Considering our average highs should be in the 60s by now, that has been a wild ride. Like I said, still actually above average temperature-wise today, but the cold front finally arrives tonight. That's when we get our first rain chances in Spokane, and from there on out, it does stay in the 60s. That's the bigger difference this time around, staying in the 60s from Tuesday and onward.
Coming up on Weather Out West, it may be autumn, but Mother Nature says otherwise for our friends in Phoenix and Denver. And later, concerns are mounting over a shrinking water supply impacting one of the Northwest's largest industries. We'll take a closer look at how the dwindling water supply is impacting local farms. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Monday. Our weather team in Denver is tracking the potential for a couple of thunderstorms today, and there's even a chance a storm could impact the start of the Broncos game this evening. Plus, they're looking at a pretty big warm-up as we head into the first couple of days of October. Kathy Sabin has all the details, and Katie LaSalle has an overview of what they were dealing with in September.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We are finishing out the month of September with glorious color in the Colorado High Country. Although a recent weather pattern change has brought down some of the leaves, but still, I think this past weekend was the peak for many areas, from Steamboat to Aspen Vale down to Crested Butte, for the glorious color. And so many of you sending in pictures of just the changing leaves on the hillside. Great time to go hiking with your kids or your best friend. Friend, and we just had so many people sending in wonderful pictures. So weather headlines for us, we're tracking isolated foothill showers for the next 24 hours. Our Broncos, of course, are playing in town Monday night, and there's the chance of a shower during the game, so we're monitoring that forecast pretty closely. And we have warm, dry weather for the first few days of October. So lots to talk about. High pressure's been our dominant feature, but we've also been talking about an upper level low that's been spinning over the southwest, lifting to the north north. That's been pulling tropical moisture up into Colorado, and that's brought a few showers, even a thunderstorm over the mountains, the spine of the Continental Divide, and across the Front Range foothills. The trend for the next 48 to 72 hours is for more of that moisture to come up. Some of it may cross over the I-25 corridor, isolated in nature, and showers that will impact travel really across much of the Gulf Coast up through Atlanta, the Carolinas, into Washington. So that's where we'll see the bigger travel impacts. We do have a little bit of cloud cover today, the chance for a late day shower. Broncos take the field at 6:15. After that, it looks mild and dry. Temperatures will be warming, seasonal highs in the mid 70s. Extended forecast, upper 70s Monday, Tuesday, 80s for Wednesday and Thursday. October comes in like a lamb with temperatures in the 80s, but then we have a cooler weather trend by the time we hit next weekend, and maybe a chance for a few showers early on Saturday.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle, and on this Monday, September 29th, we're seeing beautiful fall conditions. Leaves are changing, sun has been shining this morning, but I want to take us back. On this date, in 1959, we saw one of the heaviest snowstorms on record here in Denver, recorded out at Stapleton Airport at the time. 10.6 inches of heavy wet snow. It caused a lot of damage here over the Denver area, estimated around $5 million. But as we wrap up this month of September 2025, we typically do not see snow. At least in the past 23 years, we've only seen one September on record with snowfall. But I want to take us to the statistics here in Denver, what we typically see this time of the year. We're expecting an average high of 74, but today it's upper 70s. The highest temperature on record here in town was 101. That was set back in 2020 in the early parts of September. The lowest was actually on this day. The record low was set in 1985. We got down to 17 degrees in Denver. These records were kept from 1872 to present day. Today and the next couple of afternoons, it's going to be slightly above average highs. 74 typically in Denver. The record for this day was 92, set back in 2024. So just a year ago. And we're not talking record-setting conditions, but well above average for today through the end of the month tomorrow. Expecting 77 downtown, upper 70s Fort Collins and Greeley. Now we will see the chance for a few widely scattered showers and storms. No snow on the 7-day forecast, and you see those highs warming for tomorrow. A couple of degrees warmer with upper 70s to low 80s across the Front Range and Eastern Plains. We are bracing and tracking our next cold front. It will drop things down for the weekend, but as we start the month of October, the average high 72 degrees. We're looking at 80 with low 80s Thursday and Friday. A dry, warm weather pattern hanging with us through the week. And then we're talking the chance for a few showers and more seasonal conditions just in time for the weekend.
Mother Nature says pump the brakes, not quite fall just yet, at least not in Phoenix. But things will begin to change. But first, may warm up to about 100 degrees as our friends in Phoenix in the desert begin to wrap up September and head into fall. Ginger Jeffries has those details.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. A look at your weather out west across Arizona where, wow, we had so much active weather over the weekend. All that tropical moisture brought us in not record rainfall on a daily total, but the most rainfall we have seen since 2018. So that kind of lets you know just how much moisture moved into the region. And certainly, oh yeah, our 12 News weather watchers sending us in so many photos capturing the storm as it's been passing on through, leaving us with, views like this. We had rainbows, we had lightning, we had flooding, devastating flooding in many areas of the state. But now, as you can see, this picture from Scottsdale shows the skies are starting to clear yesterday. In fact, a lot of folks sending in photos of this, a SpaceX launch. One person even called it the jellyfish in the sky. Okay, I agree. I can see that. Well, skies are now clear, and that means temperatures are going to start responding. So across Arizona today, we are still looking for numbers to be below the normal range. We'll still get some clouds, and we could still get a pop-up shower here and there, mainly in the higher elevations. I'm talking about Payson and Prescott, but the rest of the region will be seeing pretty clear skies during the day, a little bit of cloud cover tonight, and temperatures like 91 in Tucson. So it's back to business in Yuma at 95. I've got 93 today in Havasu, about 67 in Flagstaff, 76 today in Sedona, and 93 overhead in Phoenix. As far as any monsoon activity, None, at least none locally. As you can see, we got a lot of zeros on the board today, and monsoon will be coming to a close in just a matter of days. You know, the 30th is our official end of monsoon season. So how are we faring? Well, just after that one storm, look at this. We have been below normal as far as our monsoon totals. And now after that tropical energy moved through, we are now technically above the normal range. It's kind of interesting when you think about a bar graph as far as rainfall. One storm can kick us up this high. Yep, it happened. Some other rainfall totals around the region. Now, these are 3-day rainfall totals. In Tempe, over 2.5 inches of rain. And these are some of the highlights. Other parts of the valley, especially West Valley, seen under about 1 inch of rain over the 3 days. So again, I just wanted to kind of find some of the beefiest areas. Biltmore District got over 2 inches over 3 days. Wow, definitely soggy. But now, high pressure is going to keep our skies nice and clear, allowing those numbers to respond. I am looking for numbers to get back to the normal range and slightly elevated. But then as we close in on the weekend, notice what starts happening. We've got this mid-level trough that's moving on through, and that's going to bring around some stronger winds by Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday, which will not bring around any more rain, but it is going to have an impact on the bottom line. So as far as any rain chances, yep, this whole week we are going to stay nice and dry. Just plenty of sun and temperatures that are getting back to their, well, close to normal range. We're going for a high of 93 today. Typical for us this time of the year, about 96, and we're closing out on those triple digits, even though I think we're still going to pepper the 7-day here and there. But our average final triple digit day of the year comes around October 5th. So number wise, yep, we're enjoying most of the day in the upper to mid 80s. We should be seeing the peak of the heat right about 4 o'clock. And as I am on wind watch for us by the end of the week, it doesn't look like much wind out there for us today. Just a little bit of wind in the higher elevations after about 1 to 3 o'clock. So as soon as the sun goes down, the winds are going to subside. Meantime, 7-day forecast coming your way. We've got upper 60s and low 70s for Flagstaff. Just looks like beautiful traditional fall weather for us. And for the valley, numbers are going to be slightly on a warming trend, but we're going to keep you tucked just under 100 degrees.
Coming up after the break, Julie Martin is tracking the tropics in today's national forecast. Hurricane Humberto and Tropical Storm Imelda, which is expected to become a hurricane, are spinning in the Atlantic. And these storms are not expected to strike the United States, but indirect impacts are expected for the eastern United States. Julie Martin has the details in her forecast.
Well, we are still watching the tropics, although the outlook does look much better for the U.S. Dangerous surf, though, along the East Coast. That will be prevalent in Florida, Georgia today, and then up the East Coast as we head throughout the week. Warmer than average temperatures in the central U.S. and a few showers and storms coming your way in Northern California. So temperature-wise, we've got those 80s, and in fact, mid to high 80s in the Midwest. Places like the Twin Cities, Des Moines, St. Louis, Indianapolis, you'll all be near 90 degrees, so about 10 degrees above average there for you. Warm as we head into New England as well. Portland at 82. We've got the 70s and 80s in the mid-Atlantic. Pretty typical weather in the southeast with those 80s all across the deep south. Cool weather, though, in the Pacific Northwest. We've got a couple of systems working their way in from the Pacific, and that's going to keep things unsettled for a few days. The real cold air, though, here in the Rockies. We've still got the 90s in Phoenix, 80s here in Texas for your Monday. So we take a look here at what we can expect in terms of today's watches and warnings out there. Not too many, a relatively quiet weather day aside from the tropical activity with Humberto and Imelda. And we see the red here. Those are tropical storm warnings off the Florida coast, not for the land, but in the sea. We've got the tropical storm warnings, but the surf will be very dangerous. Could see some large swells. No severe weather expected throughout the day today. Could see a few storms here in Florida up through the Georgia and Carolinas area and then out along the Rockies, but really nothing organized. So here is Imelda. That is the storm that is closest to the U.S. We've also got Humberto, which is a Cat 4, well out to sea in the Atlantic. Today, Imelda will move north of the Bahamas, but then it does look like over the next couple of days, it will take a sharp right out to sea. So that's the great news with Imelda, a much better forecast than what we had been looking at over the weekend. Still though, looking at really dangerous surf. Could see some flooding here along the east coast of the U.S. However, not anything as detrimental as what could have happened. All right, taking a look here at those temperatures. Chilly in Seattle, we've got the 60s in play. Some rain for you there in Sacramento. Phoenix, sunny and 93. Quiet weather there in San Diego. Denver, you'll be in the 70s with a few storms. Looks good throughout the rest of Texas there with those 80s and 90s. And in New Orleans, we've got 92. Charlotte, you'll see a few showers, 71 degrees. Atlanta at 83. And as we head into the upper Midwest, as I mentioned, warmer than average with those high 80s in the Twin Cities. So enjoy your Monday.
From the mountains to your table. When we come back, how earlier snow melt is threatening the water supply that keeps a Northwest industry alive. You've heard us say all summer long that drought conditions are worsening across the Pacific Northwest, and that's fueled by mountain snowpack and glaciers melting earlier than normal. Spokane's Cody Proctor tells us about the dwindling water supply affecting one of the Northwest's biggest industries.
Right behind me is just a small portion of the cows here at J&K Dairy just outside of Sunnyside. We're visiting on one of the hottest days of the summer so far. And even with temperatures like this, they're making sure their cows are staying as cool as possible, even when water is so precious.
The noise is constant at J&K Dairy, from fans to water soakers. Trying to beat the summer heat isn't easy. With 3,000 dairy cows and 2,000 acres for growing crops like corn and wine grapes, that job gets harder for farmer Jason Sheehan when water's scarce.
Right now, the biggest issue we're dealing with is the irrigation water.
Sheehan's part of the Rosa Irrigation District in the Yakima Valley, where he serves as a board director. They're right in the middle of their third drought in a row.
In a drought like this year, we're actually getting 42% of our water. So less than half of what we're supposed to get.
The Rosa Irrigation District relies heavily on the snowpack in the mountains, but this year, those crucial winter accumulations just aren't there. What started off as a promising year quickly melted faster than expected. The dry spring led to Washington state officials declaring a drought emergency in several counties. The snowpack isn't the only thing melting faster than expected, something University of Idaho glaciologist Tim Bartholomew knows all too well.
The glaciers in the Northwest is sort of similar to the condition of glaciers across the Earth, and that's generally that the glaciers are melting more than they're gaining.
He says glaciers across the Northwest are losing an average of 2 feet of ice every year. He points to climate change and the warmer temperatures that come with it for the faster melt.
The temperatures are warmer in the summer than they used to be, and that melts the glaciers a little bit faster. In the exact same way, the snowpack also melts a little bit faster come the spring.
It's also why we're seeing less mountain snow in the first place.
So in the last 70 years or so, we've seen, in a lot of places, we still have snow. We still get snowstorms, but the snow that makes it to spring is now less than it used to be.
When you have one drought or maybe two droughts, you can kind of get through things, but the third year you start to really stress crops.
With less water, Sheehan's not growing anything on about a third of his land.
Which is a cost because then we've got to buy feed for the cows.
The farm does have its own water cycle to get as much as they can out of each drop. One cycle starts with using water to cool the milk. It's then used to water the cows, cool them off with the soakers, and to flush the barn alleys of waste.
That water is never used just once, it's always captured. And once all that water is captured in our lagoons, we use it to fertilize our fields.
But the future remains uncertain, with concerns about next year already sprouting.
Because the reservoirs now are at some of the lowest levels and they've got to refill. And if you don't get the reservoirs to start refilling, we're going to be in another drought next year.
For Environment Northwest, I'm Cody Proctor.
That's going to do it for us here on Weather Out West on this Monday. We thank you so much for being with us. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and we hope you'll join us again tomorrow.